Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is part 2 of the Christmas bash as I try to complete my present before Christmas. Now this video starts recording on Saturday night at around 1 a.m. So Friday I assembled the models and primed them. Small problem. I forgot that my primer takes like 12 hours to do, so basically I lost 6 hours and now I have like 18. To paint my model. So Palatine is up first because I already have the Battle Sisters paint scheme already in my head and the paint's already off to the side. So I start off with the Palatine. Here are all the paints that I used, and I assembled the model up until the point it would get in the way of painting, which just means the backpack was separate, and I primed it with my usual black car primer. Alright, with Corvus Black, which I finally got more of, Eshin Grey, Dawnstone, and Nuln Oil, we're going to paint the armor. So this is a more refined way than what I did before. So we're going for speed. Everything about here is how can I do as fast as I can with some decent quality. I'm going to try to up the quality for the single model, but basically here's what happened. Corvus Black all over. Then water down Eshin Grey on, I'm just slapping it down on the top raised areas, just flatly over the planes. Then I'm going to apply a layer of Nuln Oil all over it to help blend the colors together, sort of, and add shadow. Then I'm going to take Eshin Grey, water down again just a bit more, and apply it flatly on the more raised areas. We're going for speed, but then again, these are flat open plates. It's very obvious where it would go, where the light would hit. Not covering the majority of the upper raised areas, like the top of the thigh, or like, I'm painting like 25% of the model, essentially. And then I use Dawnstone, and then I just highlight all the edges. And it's a little too bright, so I take Nuln Oil again, pure, I haven't watered it down or anything, and applied it all over, and then it dried. And that turned out to be pretty good. Now, I do notice my pictures are very, like, it doesn't look that great on the pictures, like the close-up pictures, but these models are very small, and these curves are very small, and when I hold it before my eyes, it looks pretty good. Alright, I actually did not get the colors to show what I did here, but I used Corn Red and Naggaroth Night in a 1-to-1 mix, and basically covered the painted the inside of her cape with it, and then added 2-to-1 Corn Red and Naggaroth Night to do the front planes of her cape as a highlight on the inside, so the dark purple to red-ish, and it worked out pretty well. And then I moved on to the next step. Alright, with Corn Red, Mephiston Red, Evil Sun Scarlet, and Troll Slayer Orange, we're going to paint the cape cloak, the outside. So, this is a character, so we're going to go a little bit more effort. So, Corn Red base all over. Then we're going to do a 1-to-1-ish mix of Corn Red and Mephiston Red, watered down so that it applies smooth, and we're going to cover 90 to 95% of the entire cape. And then we're going to go with a layer of Mephiston Red, covering like 90 to 95% of the previous layer. Then we're going to go 1-to-1 Mephiston Red and Evil Sun Scarlet, and we're going to layer in within that layer just a bit, focusing on the highlights and edges, and we're going to start feathering in the capes, like from the side and edges, to show some randomness. I don't want perfectly straight lines with the light and stuff. Then we go with Evil Sun Scarlet on the most raised areas and edges and stuff, and then with Troll Slayer Orange, watered down, actually mixed with Evil Suns and Troll Slayer Orange, we're going to paint thin lines on the exact folds, most raised edges, sharp lines, essentially. And then once all of that is done, what we're going to do is then go back to Corn Red, and we're going to make a wash, water down heavily with water, and then we're just going to apply it all over. And what this is going to do is going to sort of help blend the colors together, bring them all under one banner so that it's not outrageous highlights and stuff. This is a quick, simple way. Yeah, I'm just throwing on paint right now. Alright, speed is key. So Night Quester Flesh, Cadian Flesh, and Pallid Witch Flesh. So what we're going to do is take Night Quester Flesh, place it on the base layer. I did not record that because I forgot. Then I took Cadian Flesh Tone Pure. We're just going to slap it on top of the nose, top of the forehead, high cheekbones, jaw, or chin and stuff like that. Boom, done. Then we're going to take Pallid Witch Flesh, mix 1-to-1 with Cadian Flesh Tone, and we're just going to apply line on the nose, forehead, high cheekbones, and a dot on the chin and stuff like that. Then I take a bit of Corn Red mixed with Mephiston Red, because I already had the mix just from the cape, and I applied it onto her lips as best as I was able to. And I swear to you, it looks much better in person than on the picture. My picture's like... it makes it look terrible, but it's not that bad. Alright, with Ulthuan Grey, Dawnstone, and Bold Titanium White, which is just an actual good white paint that doesn't clot horribly, like Games Workshop's and stuff. So here's what I did. So Ulthuan Grey base all over her hair. Then I mixed in a little bit of Dawnstone with the Ulthuan Grey, and then I painted the in-between parts of her hair to add shadow, like the folds or whatever's the locks in between there. Then I took the white, Bold Titanium White, and did highlights on the topmost. I just painted straight lines on the topmost parts of her hair, and so as a highlight, and that's it. Alright, with Dawnstone and Ulthuan Grey, we're painting her livery. So base layer of Dawnstone over all her iconography, the Aquila, Inquisitorial Symbol, Fleur-de-Lis, and then highlight it all with Ulthuan Grey, which I'm beginning to dislike a bit because it is a bit clumpy, and if I water it down too much, it dilutes too heavily, so I should have gone with pure white, but here we are. Alright, with Baneblade Brown, Carrickstone, Seraph Sepia, and Rhinox Hide, we're going to paint the Purity Seal. So base layer of Baneblade Brown all over. Going to highlight all the edges and curves with Carrickstone. Then I'm going to apply watered down Seraph Sepia in there. I might do it twice, and then I re-highlight with Carrickstone. And then I use Rhinox Hide in a very thin brush and paint the scroll work or letters and stuff. Now I would recommend Thomdea Brown because it's softer and it looks better. The Rhinox Hide is too striking. It's an artistic choice, but unfortunately I did not close the lid on my Thomdea Brown good enough, and then I found out that it was a rock. So that's $5 wasted. And by the way, by this time I needed to eat dinner and go to sleep. It was probably like 6 a.m. when I stopped, and so this step was done in the next day, Christmas Eve. Alright, with AK Interactive Ultra Matte Varnish, I apply this all over the model. Now, I already did the leather belts and stuff, but I did the exact same way I did in the Battle Sisters, so I'm just focusing on the stuff I have to record. And then with Microset, I used this and applied decals, 2 of them, to her inner cape. I should have already done this beforehand, but I completely forgot about it after the fact, and then I go back and then apply the AK Interactive on it. However, because the Microset had not fully dried yet, it actually caused it to become white and cloudy near there, so that caused me a problem. I'll tell you how I fixed it later. Alright, with Iron Warriors, we're going to apply this onto her little crown, the tubing, the anklets, her plasma pistol, all the metal parts and the weird buckles and stuff that she has around her. Then with Nuln Oil, we're going to apply this all over it, pure. And then once that dries, we'll apply Duralume as a highlight. On the pistol, we'll just paint the edges of the individual plates of her gun, the tips of her hoses, and as best I can, the top parts of her belt buckles and stuff like that without ruining anything. Alright, with Hashut Copper, Castellax Bronze, I think that's what it's called, and Seraph Sepia, we're going to paint the gold with copper colors. So base layer of Hashut Copper all over, then pure Seraph Sepia onto it, drown it in it, make it a bit thick, and then we're going to highlight the edges with Castellax Bronze. I actually kind of like this. It's a quick, simple, easy way to do it for tiny trinkets. Alright, with Cantor Blue, Thunderhawk Blue, Temple Guard Blue, and Pro Acryl Titanium White, we're going to paint the Plasma Coil Gun. So I wanted to do something a bit special for this guy, or girl, and I vaguely half remembered seeing like a tutorial somewhere about doing a process similar to this. So basically, Cantor Blue base, Thunderhawk Blue, I overbrushed it over the coils in the surrounding area, and I did the same with Temple Guard Glue, focusing on the top half of the coils, and then I took the Pro Acryl White, and I just watered it down heavily till it was a thin wash, and then applied it to the bottom part of the coils with a little bit of light going up. And then I fixed the lines with Temple Guard Blue again to make sort of a glowing coils. And yeah, it's okay. Alright, so I am pinning the model with a drill, very carefully putting a paper clip piece through its foot. Now here's the thing. There is just this tiny little, it's the ball of her right foot that's touching the ground. That is so small, and her foot is so tiny. This is so difficult to attach to a base and stuff without it breaking off. There's almost no contact on the ground, so I had to pin it, but it was such a surgical procedure, goodness. And then basically I drilled a hole through the base at an angle that the pin was going through, and then when it went through the base, I basically applied super glue on the top and bottom, and then cut off the rest of the pin. And so it's not the usual way I would do it, but this was a very difficult model to pin carefully, because man, there is a huge room for error with this. And then finally I assembled the rest of the model by just attaching her backpack. By the way, I would like to take this moment and point out something of interest and note. So on the left is one of the Battle Sisters done, and on the right is the Palatine. Their capes. The one on the left is done via airbrushing, and with a little bit of actual paint brushing the edges, bright orange edges on it. And then on the right is just pure paintbrush, using thin layers building up. One is vibrant, one is dull. Make of that what you will, but it is noticeable how different these things are. And the model is done. Alright, she is done, and she looks fine. She looks fine. I mean, it's not the greatest. I mean, well, I don't know. Looking back, there's some difficulties. Her armor, it has the highlights. It's just, she's so tiny, and so it's zooming in, so it is a Space Marine to be easier to paint. It is really difficult to paint her like this, but it worked out well. Her armor is highlighted and fine, that I could do. So I finished this model at around, oh my god, probably around 11 p.m. or so on Christmas Eve. So while you're all enjoying your Christmas, having a fun, or Christmas Eve, having a, well, doing whatever you're doing, I was slaving away over a brush and poor decisions of waiting to the last minute because I needed to eat. I had errands to run. I actually had to go get some last gifts at the last moment. I'm recreating Jingle All the Way. Well, at this point, getting a gift ready at the last minute. And yeah. Overall, what I could have done better if I had more time in the will is drill the plasma pistol barrel, probably add some burning onto it, but you know what? I'm like, nah. And the Sisters of Battle are so keeping everything clean that I'm pretty sure that the plasma pistol would also be likely clean after, before each engagement and such, so it fits her. So overall, the pictures, her face looks fine. It looks fine, and you can clearly distinctly see it. There are some issues when painting very small models, that high contrast between the colors is kind of needed because there isn't enough space to see a gradual change in colors, and so like putting something black right next to white, you can clearly see that from a distance because everything's so small. So high contrast in colors and colors being very different from each other, not smoothing over as well, works on much smaller models. Her frame is dainty. And I'm wondering, this woman is power armored. Like, how thin are her calves and ankles that the armor just wraps like that. It's like, thinking about it, like, her legs should be a bit thicker. Her calves and ankles should be thicker. Her foot should be thicker. Her hands and arms should be thicker. It's like they made it like, if this was real size, this is what their feet and legs and arms would be. So I don't know how thick ceramotite is in the lore, but I think it's like half a centimeter thick at most or something for armor. That's pretty thin. Well, anyway, that's enough speculation. Now, I finished at around 11 p.m. Christmas Eve, and I'm moving on to the next model as the consequences of my inactions. Bye.